did it!
Wow, we burst through hyperdrive and have made it to season 4, which turns out to be a continuation of season 3.
Yeah.
In this
Gotta resolve
beginning
that.
bit.
Gotta resolve that cliffhanger. Do you think that the Borg ever have audio or video issues, considering they're all one collective, but they all kind of talk at the same time?
I'm sure. I mean, trying to assimilate all of the different technologies from different cultures, something has to go wrong at some point. You're muted, Queen. You're muted.
Has to be a nightmare. I mean, I can't imagine. It's got to be so tough trying to be the mixer for all of the Borg.
Yeah.
They do have a DJ in their ship in the basement that's trying to, like, you know, make sure everybody's equal volume so no Borg thinks they're better than any other Borg, because obviously they have no individual identity.
Right. Well, they also chose that 4-dimensional or 3-dimensional, I guess, view screen, which just is a revolving cube, right?
Everything must be a cube.
Seems like they're trying way too hard to make all cube things work. Like they're drinking out of a cube coffee cup and it's spilling out the sides. Not everything can be a cube. The Borg.
That's
Relaxing
right.
with cube cigars.
It's the best
This
of both
disagreement.
worlds, part 2.
A cliffhanger that many people had to wait. What I was reading online was it was actually only 3 months. I thought it was going to be like
I
a
thought it
year,
was
like we have
longer.
to wait nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think they stretched the season out so long because it was like, what is it, 25 episodes or something like that it was? So like,
I wonder how long their
full year.
filming was. Like, do they do
Right.
it on a month on, like 3 months off type of thing?
I think they do it all in one big burst. They do the
Yeah.
whole season over several months, I'm sure.
I think it's 1 episode a week. And
Probably.
if they've got 24 episodes, that's a certain number of weeks. 24.
Hey,
Sure
there's the
is.
math. I saw the calculating.
Checks
marker.
out.
Sorry, that's a certain number of months, which is 6.
Potentially, yeah. We don't
We've
exactly-
got
wait.
data on our podcast now.
I don't know if that's true. What's 6 times 4?
It's 24.
Yes.
He did it.
Well, there was 26 episodes, regardless of how long it took to film them. Like season 3 happened and like it debuted, or like the end of season 3 happened in June of 1990, and then this premiered in September of 1990. So it was like a summer break, not unlike what we took. So perfect.
Yeah. Well, and this is my thesis when it was going into this, is that I think that there was a lot of like fan, not outcry, but it resonated with the fans and response to what they wanted to see in the future of, is Patrick Stewart off the show? Is Riker the new captain? Are the Borg the main enemies? Like, are they dead? Did he
Is
fire?
Shelley our first officer? For
Exactly. Like
Shelby.
all of these questions that they proposed for this cliffhanger, I think that a lot of fans went into with a lot of expectations, and I think they really played them like a fiddle in like, we're going to make all of those true. And here we go.
Yep. You're right. There was actually a lot of rumors about that from Memory Alpha. There was
Hold on. I think we need to try something before we really get into it here, which is, hello, this is a podcast called To Boldly Watch, where we
Whoa.
rewatch Star Trek The Next Generation and talk to you about it.
Weird.
I'm one of your hosts, Becca Scott.
I'm your other host, Jake Michels.
And I am also here, Xander Jeanneret.
Wow.
Four
First and only time we've
seasons.
ever done that, but I think it worked.
I'm really hoping
swimmingly.
someone's been 4 seasons deep into our podcast before realizing
no
it was a
idea.
podcast. Like, wait a second. This is what a podcast is?
I never start with the first episode of anything.
Absolutely not. It's most recent only for me.
Yes. If you've somehow punched a number of combinations into your phone to result in being here, now you know you are listening to a podcast.
Welcome.
Jake, you're really being podcast elitist here, okay? That's not how people consume podcasts. Anyone can jump in to any latest episode, and they will. And now
I'm
they
not
know.
saying you can't. I'm saying however you got here, now you know.
true.
This map is planted.
You're
You may have
acting
been-
like this listener is hypothetical, and I'm crazy. You're gaslighting me. You are gaslighting me.
If you're listening to the podcast episode version of this, you won't hear any of this because I will have edited it.
That's the benefit of Jake editing. Jake can erase anything. It's like the Chinese control of TikTok. That's what you're doing right now. You've erased
Thank
Hong
you.
Kong.
That's exactly the analogy I was hoping.
I'm
you'd
Hong
use,
Kong.
is I am the government. Yeah, Hong Kong, the last
Anyway,
bastion.
we're a Star
Anyway.
Trek podcast.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Star Trek. The rumors about this episode and the episode prior to were swirling all amongst the Star Trek nerds around this time. That Shelby would be a regular character was definitely one of them.
Right.
And there was actually a fake script produced by somebody.
Oh, sure.
And that got out there that people thought was real, where it turns out that in the second part, Q was responsible for letting Picard be assimilated into the Borg, and that it was like a Q prank, which definitely feels like a dumb Deus Ex Machina weird resolution, right?
Deus Ex Machina? Something's there.
Oh, yeah, I think that works.
Yeah. And so that definitely seemed false. So they were trying to keep the scripts locked down. And so one way that Paramount did security for the scripts was instead of numbering the scripts obviously, they did it in a hidden line, which is one of the Jupiter stations that gets mentioned when the Borg first enter the Elf solar system. They changed the number on every script. And so they knew who had.
So
what
was it
script
Wolf
with the number.
359?
It was Jupiter station blank every time, but the number was always different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, this was also like the baby age of the internet being accessible to the public, too, of people being able to find out this sort of information and leaking things from studios or their jobs or spouses accidentally or whatever.
Yeah, which I still maintain is a mistake.
The internet?
The internet.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's
Watch out,
right.
they're going to pull the plug right here.
If you haven't seen Becca's TED Talk on why the internet was a mistake, I will link it in the description.
Yes.
Great. Actually,
Enlightening.
to do.
Yeah.
Let me write that one down.
Well,
On
and
pen
watch
and
it.
paper as God intended.
Yeah, well, and by link it, I mean there's no hyperlink. It's an address where you mail in for a VHS tape because you wouldn't want it put on the internet.
would.
That's the highest level of technology I accept.
I
TED
did
Talk.
that as a kid a lot. I was part of like the Power Rangers fan club, and they would mail me a VHS.
Really?
That is so predictable of you, Xander.
Oh.
I'm sure
Way to
Star
be
Trek
on
actually had
brand of
something like
yourself.
that too.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure. There was some subscription service.
Well, there was
that made money
definitely
somewhere.
there was a fan magazine that didn't Mark Street run that?
Ooh.
Becca?
Sorry, TED Talk on why internet bad idea. I wrote
Spend
it.
your focus on that bit right now. Make sure
No, it's not
that
a
all the other
bit.
work that we're gonna do, divert it to this.
Work. Come on. Anyway, you reminded
Jordy,
me a
divert
lot.
all power to the bad idea.
Done and done. Speaking of Jordy diverting power, what happens in this episode?
Well, we start off with that dramatic cliffhanger, right, where Riker
The
tells
recap.
Worf to fire. That was a great recap, too.
It was a good recap. And also, I wrote this in my notes. I never noticed we've engaged the Borg before until the recap. And I was like, oh.
It's like every flawless execution of our outro of this podcast.
Yeah.
flawless, yeah. The recap I thought did a great job of summarizing all the key plot points that we would not only need to know for this episode, but also just the context of what we were going into with Shelby and Picard and Riker.
Yeah.
So we start off with that, and it turns out the whole big powerful shot we were hoping to take is
Fire.
ineffective.
They do, but here's the thing. Fan theory number 1. Riker's going to fire on the Borg cube. Complete. Ding. He does. Does it work? No. But he did fire on it.
I mean, Michael Piller and the writers, I think, really struggled with their cliffhanger. I think Michael Piller didn't expect to be brought back for the 4th season, so he wrote a cliffhanger he didn't feel he had to figure out, and then he came back and being like, okay,
Great.
I got to figure this out.
Genius. That's how you do. That's DMing right there.
Yeah. It is. It's a very good comparison because
For all
I'm
those listeners that don't know,
sorry.
that means dungeon mastering. I'm talking to you, Mom.
I was conflating my audiences there for a second.
There's a lot of crossover. Becca,
Yeah.
I'm sure both you and Xander have done this before in DMing where you get yourself into quite a cliffhanger that you don't know how to get out until the next session.
Sometimes the players give me the answers through their speculation.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah.
More often, I'm the player speculating.
Yeah,
No, I do
me
things
too.
by the book. And
Nice.
if I don't like my cliffhanger, I never return to that season or episode.
That's a way to do it.
Safe. Those texts go unanswered if we're going to play again.
Yep.
So the deflector dish shot doesn't work. And of course it doesn't work because Picard knew about it.
Ooh,
and not
he knows
only does everything Picard knows, the Borg knows. And then he drops the word number 1.
The note I put down here was Locutus is scary. This is like, remember, this is the same show that like bumps around, nanites, wonky robot antics, and like this is terrifying television.
Yeah, and it's also like one of our heroes, like looking gaunt and emotionless and threatening our destruction. Mm-hmm. It's terrifying.
It's the only way you can accept a complete 180 role reversal of the hero you love. I'm looking at you, creators of the Game of Thrones series. We can't talk about it. I'm sorry.
I thought you were I thought you were going to say to you, I'm looking at you, Admiral Hansen, or whatever your name is, who really couldn't accept it, actually. You make a great point.
D.B. Weiss and David, I want to say Boreans, but that's actually Angel.
Angel.
I'm dropping a lot of names.
I really hope David Boreanaz was in the writing room at all those.
I hope he listens to this podcast. I know he is. Huge Trekkie.
David Boreanaz, this is a podcast.
Hold on, I have a message. David Boreanaz. I think my husband would understand if
wait, I'm getting in on this.
You also wanted to marry me. So would you marry me, David Boreanaz?
Wait, it wasn't even a romantic offer. It was actual marriage.
I'm in.
It'll be romantic, but more like a familial. Mm-hmm. You're distant. I wake up in the bed with 2 Davids around my arms every morning.
And I'm also here, Xander Jeanneret. I just do a podcast episode intro every time I pop up out of the bed.
Anyway, David,
Sorry,
I'll
Mom.
send you a link in the description for that email.
For the VHS.
So, the Admiral Hansen.
Yeah, in
has
denial.
a beautiful scene. I want to talk about the scene. Okay. So, there is this scene where they're like, wow, we tried to fire, we got away, we did everything we could. Starfleet, what's next? And Starfleet's like, we're sending a bunch of ships, stand off for now, repair all your, fiddly bits of your ship. And then we'll see you back in the fray. And Shelby says, well, what are we supposed to do? They know everything Picard knows because Picard assisted them. Mm-hmm. And he says, no, shut it down. Let me tell you a little story about a boy. And that boy, he was a loyal boy. He ran a marathon. I don't know if it was in a ship or on foot. It's not specified, but he ran this marathon, and he was so good, and I needed to know who that little boy was, and that little boy was Picard, so don't you ever say... He's a casualty. He did not assist them. And it was a great speech.
That was word for word that speech. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also,
I'm clapping for myself.
Fan theory number next. I'm not keeping track of them. Picard is dead. Check. Someone says it. It's canon.
True.
Yeah. He's regarded, as a casualty of war? Is that what they say?
Mm-hmm. Because then Riker becomes the captain.
He could become dead and then become not dead again.
He can get better.
And still check that box of actually dying.
But
we're out to check all of them.
Don't you think Hansen's being a little obtuse right now? Because you guys are fighting the one enemy that can force him to assimilate because they just do it without your will being a part of it, The Romulans can torture him all they want. They're not going to get anything out of him. But this is completely different. They take over his mind.
It's an argument of terminology. And he won.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. In an emergency situation, trying to get a ship together that had lost their captain type of thing. He's just
it's a morale
this needs to happen.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I do, this whole episode, all of my notes are basically, someone experienced with the Borg yelling at this crew who has no idea what they're doing, of no, or please, just blow it up. Just, what are you doing? Constantly.
That's a legitimate thing to do if they only knew how. Now, here's the question I had right before we find out the answer. Is Picard still in there? Obviously, is the big question, we know he's not dead in the series. The original viewers didn't. But is he playing along? Is this a bit? Or is he not himself entirely, but we hope he can come back? So many questions. And they're all kind of a little bit not even really answered, but mentioned with a single tear.
Yep.
Right,
He's still in there.
So, go ahead.
Picard is on the table, and the Borgs are, I don't know, adding more Borgifications, fortifying their
Attaching more
satellites.
Yeah, and one more antenna, and they put this real long needle in his head with a glowy light bulb on the tip, and that's when we see the single tear.
Yeah.
Or he's just a wuss.
Even as a
Good
Borg.
conclusion.
Yeah.
What a wuss.
When I saw the beginning of that scene, I was like, man, why are they showing us this? I don't want to see this because I kind of want it to remain mysterious of what happened to him, kind of how it did in the first episode where he just disappeared and then we didn't see him until the reveal, right? But
Like showing a monster in the horror movie.
Right. We do see that him talking to the Borg for a brief minute before he's assimilated, but like then I realized how wrong I was because of the tear. It's so important that they let the viewer but not the crew know that he's still there.
Yeah,
but
you
in
have
what
the
capacity,
inside knowledge
right?
as the audience member.
So it's very smart of them to do that.
It's even scarier because a lot of what's scary about being assimilated or like being turned into a werewolf or whatever from lore is the thought that that could happen to you. And it's that thing of being buried alive. You're screaming internally and no one can hear you. And I think that's why that tear is very powerful.
Jeez. You just awakened some new fears in me.
Yeah.
It's a great Stephen King short story. Highly recommend. I don't know the name of it. There's somebody on an autopsy table, but they're alive, but they know where they are.
Ooh.
No.
Awful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and
that's what
that's kind of what's happening to him as he's getting all
yeah.
these modifications made to him. So, and oof.
Well, hopefully if he wakes up, he won't remember any of it.
Well, we'll see. So, what happens next? The Enterprise is furiously making repairs.
Like we sort of get the patchwork through of we see what it would be like if Riker is captain and Shelby first officer, and before it becomes official. But we check off that fan theory. Boop. This is what the crew would look like without Picard in charge.
Right.
And let's talk about the scene between Shelby and Riker because she confronts him. He gives Shelby a compliment saying, you were the one in just reminding everybody of that thing in last episode and in the recap where she came up with the idea of scrambling the signals that they're throwing out so the Borg can't figure out what they're doing. And they had this really thick tension previously. And he says, as captain, I want you to keep that. I appreciate that. That keeps me on my toes, which is really nice because if you hate somebody and they're like, you know what? You know all those horrible feelings you have at me? Keep doing them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. Thanks for not trying to make me change.
Yeah. Well, also, I would constantly forget, Shelby's a Borg expert. Like, not only is she a competent first officer, she's, like, the only human that knows this much about the Borg. I'm like, she'll just spit out a factoid or two.
Yeah, which is still very little.
Yeah.
Right.
We also spent so much of episode 1 butting heads with her, and it was just a lot, and we don't need to do that anymore. And so I love that it happened really at the top of the episode, too. We got this nice resolution. And it wasn't a resolution of kindness. It was a resolution of understanding. And so it's like, this is your role, and this is the role I played. And honestly, you're doing it better than I did. Because he says, you probably know more than I did when I first came on board.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment to her regarding when he was in episode 1 at Escape It? No. What's it called?
Encounter
at Farpoint.
But it also gives a nod to the audience member who has been following along since season 1. Because, again, this is the era before the internet. If you got that journey with Riker, you've been watching along, or reruns or whatever, with the community. And so that was the reward to them for following along.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't miss a chance to tell a woman she's too ambitious because Shelby says, hold on, really sounds like you're considering me a first officer in the way you're speaking to me, which is totally right on. Yeah. And he's like, slow down, lady. Not so fast. I'll think about it.
That's what that's what she was gunning for in episode 1. He shouldn't be surprised, and absolutely. Yeah, she should go for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but
luckily,
I think,
in our meeting, for inspiration immediately after, gathering everybody, Riker really softens the blow. He says, I love all of you. Everybody's great. You'd all make a great first officer. It's just Picard wouldn't want me to change your position at this time because he put you in your current position. And so
I just want to respect his wishes.
Yeah. And I'm going to be talking a lot about Picard anytime I got to, punish anybody. It's going to be because Picard would have said.
So if you find yourself upset with me, just think, this is really Picard's doing.
In fact, I've made stretchy bracelets for each of you from the replicator. What would Picard do? Just as a reminder.
That's on one side. On the inside, it says, not Riker's fault. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and my first acting captain is done. I'm going to take a nap. Sir, the Borg. Right.
Yes. Oh, right. Also, Shelby, who everyone dislikes, you are first officer. I love that.
He says, you all know why. And she is
you
the
all
Borg
know.
expert. So, and if they're all going to die tomorrow, what does it matter?
Well, then we get a really great scene because it's going to be great because
Wait.
Guinan's involved, right?
Before that, or after that scene, Riker falls asleep at the conference table and then sits up and goes, did Picard and Guinan do it? And then we get this scene.
And you have to sing the Guinan theme song, which is...
She's great.
The theme song from Sister Act?
I thought we were all going to sing it together.
Guinan.
Guinan, you give good guidance. This has worked well. Okay,
Yeah,
anyway,
improvise
we're going to sing with Guinan.
improvise music over the internet.
Nope.
I liked it.
But yeah, Whoopi Goldberg can do no wrong.
Well, he goes into the the ready room is what it's called, and he stares at the chair and says, "What would you do?" And the chair, of course, doesn't respond. But Whoopi comes in and immediately says, "Can I talk to you?" He's like, "Well," she goes right into it.
Yep.
And she mentions
Perfect.
that. What did she say? When either of us needed help, we would talk to each other.
Yeah.
And I love that she didn't mention she's just a counsel for him. It's also vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, it
used
was
to
a
having the captain's ear. What a great line. Like, well, Picard let me do this, so you need to, based on my stretchy bracelet.
Yeah. This whole exchange was just so smooth, and it was manipulation, but in a way that just like kind of got to the point. She's like, I could spend my time teaching you this lesson that my advice is valuable and you should listen to me, but we're going to skip past that because we're in a situation.
Yeah, I know there's limited
You'll see
time.
when this wisdom comes out. Just hold on.
Brace yourself.
You might want to sit down for this. There can only be one captain. I've been hearing people talking. They all think they're going to die tomorrow. When a man thinks he's going to die, he finds a way of making that happen. So you better fix your shit, Riker. Get it together, man. Get it together.
Yeah, you can't
Which
do
is
your
great
best.
advice.
Yeah, you have to exceed it.
Absolutely.
This goes back to
can't
that
have the
no-win scenario, right?
It's the expectation of failure that will cause failure. This is why she's basically telling Riker the secret and telling him to manifest his own success. And she's right. She's right.
She is. And then she ran around the ship with scissors, cutting all the bracelets off of the bridge
Don't
crew.
run with the
Freedom!
scissors, Guinan.
Don't run. She can, though.
I'm
she
an oracle.
knows.
I can do what I want.
Pretty quickly, he doesn't even really get a chance to like think about that for more than a second before. Doesn't the ship enter the Wolf system right then?
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And we see the
get
debris
combat.
of the fleet. We don't even get combat. We get the
Oh, right.
remnants. Right.
Yeah,
we find the Federation fleet is in shambles and all gone. Pretty
Powerful
dramatic
move
moment.
for Shelby to name all the ship's remnants that they're seeing.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. To not say, "Oh
Melbourne.
my God, they're all gone." To just say, like, in memoriam.
Yeah.
What's wild too is that in Star Trek Adventures, our first campaign, we had a character played by Sam Delev whose like whole backstory was centered on like the disaster at Wolf 359, and so to hear it like referenced now in canon, I was like, oh, it's a cool little like nod to a tabletop game too. So
That's
incorporate
awesome.
canon stuff into your game, and it can make things more enjoyable.
I thought you were gonna say Sam played Shelby. I was like, whoa.
Oh no. There would be layers.
I feel like they rarely play a human.
Right?
Yeah. No.
My brief knowledge of
Yeah.
when
these
we
games.
get when we get to the wolf system, we have those dramatic shots of the debris and everybody kind of looking and seeing that the whole fleet was in shambles. And then they mention whatever ship the admiral was on. Was it the Melbourne or something? We get this super close-up of Riker, and this is the first time in like the HD era that I've not noticed the makeup. Like,
it was great. The lighting, the camera angles, everything was up a notch.
They really nailed it, and I usually, even in modern shows, I see the foundation, or I definitely see eyeliner on people, and I didn't see any of that on him. And I know we've had that problem in previous episodes with people, but like this was great.
I think you're speaking too soon.
Yeah.
You're speaking too soon before we see
the
Borg makeup.
Yeah.
In the
It's
wrong
not
lighting.
I want to give them props where they get it right. It's still TV production, and they're not going to get it flawlessly.
And there was the assumption of the blur from the broadcast onto the definition, standard definition TV.
There actually is a shot somewhere in here. I'll try and remember where it is, where it wasn't retouched. I don't know if you guys had that on your version. It was one of the shots of the battle bridge. It's like a 2-second shot of Riker.
Yeah. Does it change aspect ratio or something?
Yeah, maybe it might.
Yeah.
But you notice it and you're like, oh, that's what it looked like on TV.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I can see this on streaming now.
Somebody needs to lose their job. How did they miss retouching just
Oh,
one?
I think they might have
lost
which
the
this
footage.
happened a few times previously. I think they didn't have the footage.
Yeah.
And they they don't have the original footage, so they had to use broadcast footage that was recaptured in some way.
Oh.
Yeah. It happens.
Okay. Well, I think at this point in the episode, what we need is a plan.
Yeah.
It seems pretty hopeless.
So that's why we'll talk about the plan, but cut the camera away so the viewer can't figure out what it is.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ha-ha.
Always love those, right?
Riker
But they do
pops
mention.
in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Riker pops in and says, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to prepare to separate that saucer section, which we love to talk about. It's very
Wait,
high-tech.
whoa. Picard knew that we were going to do that. And that's Picard as a Borg. If we separate, he knows that we're going to do that.
Shelby, so glad you set me up to look smart because I know. And the knowledge that he has is the knowledge that we have that we know he knows. And that's what we're going to know.
I've been defeated by Riker.
Oh no, she's melting! She's melting!
I'm on your side now.
So creepy Locutus and Riker have a chat over intercoms.
Locutus has had a lot of cosmetic upgrades since we last saw him, and I love this choice, right? He's getting further and deeper into the collective.
It's
Also,
like
just-
earning your badges on your military coat. You know, you get more Borg implements. If
Yeah.
we can't see a single bit of human flesh, you're top of the creme de la creme.
There's like a beeper and a Tamagotchi and like the height of 90s technology.
A Tamagotchi. The pet is also part of the collective.
Yeah.
We all
Oh
must care
man,
for
it
this.
zooms in and it's like, you will assimilate.
It's just a little cat with an eye laser. Oh, it's
Please clean my poop.
Locutus.
Oh, it pooped.
Oh.
But also I commented too, you took Wesley for piloting the battle bridge? You're letting the child. Okay. I was like, this whole episode was a lot to ask of Wesley. On
Yeah. Oh
multiple
my
occasions.
gosh.
Hey,
The
Kate,
collision
could
course
you-
order was intense.
Yeah, we'll get there. Wait, hold on. This is plan 1. I've got plan Riker's plan, new plan, new plan, a new plan.
Yeah.
You're talking about new plan.
Sure, yeah, that's way forward. But
True,
Wesley is, I think, the pilot on the battle bridge for this one.
Yes.
Pretty intense for a teenager.
Yeah.
Then again, who better to think that they're infinite and could jump off of any building and survive? So it's probably for the best that.
We can never die.
So the conversation with Locutus and Riker is all about Riker. I don't know if Riker was actually trying to convince Locutus of anything, but use the tactic of, if you
Stretch
are
for
using all
time.
the information inside Picard's brain against us, then you will have the information that he implicitly trusted me and knows I'm a trustworthy person.
This is also, they haven't encountered this species before. Riker is testing the boundaries. Where do they take, where is their logic from switching to only using Picard's instincts to they are thinking for themselves. They're utilizing him like a library type of thing.
Yeah, it's a good test.
Yeah.
And that library has infinite records of Riker and Picard together saying one thing and meaning completely another. It's like, oh yeah, no, you definitely tricked everybody, so not gonna fall for it. Peace.
Yeah.
Well, definitely break some of the rules about the Borg too, of just them having this spokesperson who does have some type of singular voice sometimes too, because we do hear him later talk about himself in the first person. But maybe that's the Picardism in there, right?
Well, also, I believe Becca made this point for when we did the last episode that it really stuck with me when I was watching this through, is that they wanted to create an icon that the humanity could relate to. Right. So that's why this one Borg has a name, and it's explaining the situation to humans, so it'll make it an easier process of assimilation.
Right. We just never get them delving into that in this at all.
No.
It
never does. It's a fan canon.
It's like a therapy puppet.
Oh.
You don't do therapy with the puppet?
Well, no, but also your analogies I just never see coming. I love how they sail out of the field and hit me right on the noggin.
Yeah, not even left field. It's a different sport.
All right, A to Q.
Ooh. Yes, it's all to get exactly their frequencies and to see what's going on in terms of the communications, right? So is this point we separate, or are we already separated?
It's time to separate.
It's time to separate.
Are you breaking up with me?
Now, here's the thing that I could use some clarification on, because the saucer section is where the vulnerable population is, and then there's the battle bridge, and that's the one that engages in battle, and their whole plan is fire a bunch. And as expected, they'd use the knowledge Picard has to not fire on the saucer section.
Yes.
Because they're innocent and vulnerable? Why didn't they immediately suck up the saucer and assimilate those people?
Because they were not the threat. That's what he was counting on that he was bluffing in a sense, that the Battle Bridge version of the Enterprise would be the threat that they need to keep paying attention to, because the saucer was the distraction that they would go and assimilate. But it's that double blind. Picard would know they don't have the weapon systems. They don't have the defenses that the Battle Bridge does. We need to pay attention to this. And definitely not a tiny shuttle.
Never a tiny shuttle, one that shuts off its power just as it glides into our electro zone.
Well, also, they threw antimatter, which I had never heard them use, just spraying it on the shields. I'm not sure exactly what that was about.
Yeah,
that's to dilute it, right?
I don't know. To dissect the technobabble, we have the warp core doing the matter-antimatter reaction. So if you leaked out antimatter 1-to-1, that's the ratio.
Okay.
Apparently, it would affect their systems. I think they were under the assumption they were just throwing everything at it because they hadn't modified their defenses for all of these different frequencies or attacks yet.
What I assumed was it let them go through it let the shuttle physically go through the shields, which isn't necessarily possible, right? Because once they were inside their shields, then they could beam from within. Right?
Yeah, they said that because they were inside the beaming, the apparatus had enough power to beam them. So that was the issue, is their beam wasn't powerful enough. I don't know.
It worked. It was the Mission Impossible scene, right? It's the heist, the treasure being Picard, right?
Yeah, well,
and I just put together something that I missed before, which is the shuttle, which we haven't mentioned yet, contained Worf and Data.
Yes.
It must have come from the separated saucer section, which made it even sneakier.
Mm-hmm, because it maneuvered around to the backside of the cube.
Yeah, and you also they show that because when Data and Worf are in the shuttle and it takes off from the shuttle bay, you see out the side. This is actually a really brilliant shot. You see out the window the shuttle bay, then space, then the battle half of the Enterprise in the distance.
Yeah, that whole sequence was great. I wrote down this is one of the instances we saw multi-ship combat where we could go teleport into each of the different bridges and see how they were being affected. And we saw that sort of like Disneyland ride effect with the set with a green screen in the window for Worf and Data, and it was really effective.
Yeah. I think they also saved on budget because all the stuff that they were using was from the last episode. Except for the battle bridge, which is just they've always have. So
do you know, did they shoot this in the first season or the previous season's like lineup?
The hiatus was the same for the cast and crew.
Okay.
Actually, probably a little bit longer. They, in fact,
Just
there's like
in
hair
their continuity.
They were very diligent. There is lighting changes if you're really to look, but for the people that would be looking at the characters, there is some slight hair changes to like Worf and I think Riker too, maybe also Crusher. But beyond that, no, it like picks up. In the story, they do a really good job of making it feel it really picks up right where it left off. But
I mean, if you told me they shot it all in one batch, I'd believe you.
Right.
But it is a real hero moment when they transport aboard the ship and then they just start shooting some Borg with their phasers.
Yep.
And you cheer. Then Worf and Picard do an awkward dual arm wrestling. Yeah.
Listen,
here's
Star
how you
Trek,
fight. You grab people's arms and then you grab. Yeah, it's a grapple.
Star Trek can only do fight choreography if it's two robots fighting each other.
And in that case, it's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, these two robots fought. And all they needed to do was give him a little sedative and transport him back because it was a rescue mission, baby.
Awesome. And then we just get away? How did that, like, so that's what I was confused about. This is the second time in this episode where we've confronted the Borg and we've just been like, bye? Because it happened in the top of the episode, too. After we get the number 1 line from Locutus, after the title sequence, we're just in space.
Actually, the Borg ran away.
Yes.
They went to Earth, is where they're going?
They were going to Earth because we've established this before. Essentially, the Borg don't care about their drones. Like, that's why you can walk freely among the ship and stuff like that, and they don't really care. 2, this is one of the Star Trek beam away saves where the 3 of them were on the shuttle leaving, and we see the shuttle exploding, but just at the last minute, we got them, and they beam into the...
I love that that's a phrase, a beam away save.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like a classic Trek, too.
God's in the transporter.
Yeah.
Deus Ex O'Brien.
Right? And that's one of my things where I was shouting. I was like, why did you beam him into the transporter room? Go to medbay. Put him in a force field. That is a Borg.
Very good point.
Very good.
We get a real cocky smirk from Riker before the ad break moment. And it's like, dude, yeah, you rescued him, but last you saw him, that's not your friend anymore. So I thought that was an interesting, not the choice I would have made as the actor to like, yeah, we got him now. I got my friend back. No, you got a Borg.
I'm sure as the director told him to give him that smirk too, because that whole act from commercial to commercial was like deception to the audience until they finally caught up to it.
Yeah. And this is Riker going to send an away team and rescue Picard from the fan theories? Bing. Check that one off.
Do you have a list of these,
done.
or are you just...
I do. This was over the summer, and so I have it written in crayon.
They
On my
also
arm.
beamed into his head before he wrote it in crayon because he has a nonverbal communication with all Star Trek fans.
Yes.
Very similar to the Borg, but less assimilating.
Resistance is futile.
Never mind. Actually, equally so.
I also forgot about the action sequence in this, which was during the like engagement with the battle section of the Enterprise and the Borg. Like Riker was shouting out commands. He's like, "Do Riker maneuver Alpha," and Crusher was like confirming it. And like it turns out, Riker maneuver Alpha is just bank left.
Right. Or I'm like,
God.
did you
And then sit
program
backwards
all
on
of
a
these
chair.
in, or is he just such a fanboy that he knows all of the Riker maneuvers?
All
and that's
file
why
names
he
have
brought
to be
him.
my name.
Yeah.
He just went in and deleted Picard and wrote in Riker and was like, "This is what Guinan meant. She wanted this."
So we got him now, right?
And he puts in like Riker maneuver C, and it's like just swivels all the chairs around. Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
Yeah. Wrong Riker maneuver. All right, so the Enterprise is going to run after the Borg that went running for Sector 001, obviously
Which is
Earth, because
Earth.
we're the center of the universe, so of course
Yeah.
we named our Sector 1.
Yeah.
Not our sun, no, us.
No.
Maybe they're the same sector. I don't know.
It is,
Anyway.
because Jupiter's included.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think it's the Milky Way.
It's our sun, yeah.
All right. So that's fine. So Picard's not Picard, we find out, because we go to Medical Bay and try and poke around, pull out his Borg parts
Can't do it.
unsuccessfully.
Yeah, he's but we figure that there might be other options, right? We're going to try and figure out, like, is he still in there? And that's very unclear. But he does pop up and start talking to us, doing like an ab sit up and just kind of stationary.
Crunch.
Yeah.
Promises not to harm, though. Oh,
Yeah,
that was a
he's
really
like-
good crunch.
Yeah,
It was.
I'm just gonna be a voice for the Borg here and just let you know how futile your position is repeatedly.
Yeah.
So-
May I walk around and try and sell my multi-level Borg marketing scheme to
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of the people on the ship? Okay, I'll do that. Hey, Worf, you know about Klingons? They'd be like so much happier if they were Borg, though, right?
Look how many
Anyway.
attachments I have. You too can have them.
Do you see this
He
little
just spins
spinny
his hands.
antenna?
They can only take about 10 minutes of that before they sedate him. And
Yeah,
they
that's
drag him
enough
into
of
the
that.
science lab. And we get this cool moment with Data where Data's talking to Riker over the intercom about that he's planning to interface with Picard and see what he can use with his positronic net. And he turns, and we reveal that his head is open, and we can see his computational pieces.
And I don't think we've seen him walking around or moving. That's always been like he's been
A stationary shot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But boy,
don't
I
feel no
wish that
pain?
I could see just more of Patrick Stewart. You know, the uniform, you kind of get to see sort of the outline, but I just want to see a little peeky poo about what's underneath there.
Don't say Pinky Poo. He's so pale right now. Will it really, is that the fantasy you want? Don't you want him when he's
It does
bronzed
it.
and on ricin?
Yeah. You know, some days you want Locutus. and
Yeah, that's
some
true.
days-
Maybe you're in a winter mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just say, for me, Patrick Stewart is at his sexiest when he's quoting Shakespeare. Done
Yes.
and done.
Agreed.
Yes. I mean, I didn't really feel like, I felt his lack of presence in this episode, definitely, and when we finally got him back in the end, when he starts speaking again, right?
I felt this really spoke to his range, though, because he really were two different characters.
It's really smart they chose that the Borg should have this synth echo of other Borg voices,
Yes.
even when it's the actor's own voice in a singular
Yeah.
mode, right? That's so smart because it would just sound like Patrick Stewart doing a voice, but
Yeah.
now they've got this whole modification that gives him a robotic sound because Data sounds like a human, really.
Right.
When it comes down to
Oh,
a
he
vocal
would be
pattern.
so
right?
happy to hear you say that.
Really sweet.
Yeah.
Great compliment.
So nice.
That's good.
So they're plugged in.
Yeah, they're plugged in. It's Game Boys are attached, right? But
Yeah.
this scene is hard to do because it's just like Data saying fascinating, right? Like what's
Right.
the dynamics of this is a tough thing for an actor.
I'll tell you what's fascinating. The subcommands necessary for all functions are separated into three components. You've got the Borg
Boom.
defense, communication, and navigation.
Yep.
Really exciting scene.
Defense, communication, navigation. No, but it was good non-verbal acting between two phenomenal actors
Who are playing robots or drones.
playing
or like-
robots. who are good at fighting.
Non-humans.
Right.
yeah, who want to be human.
This is
So
a
many
real
layers.
horror movie moment, and you know it because of the music cue. Because as soon as they start to figure out and get into the Borg computer system, Wi-Fi system, whatever,
Yeah.
the
The
network,
cloud.
Network.
the cloud network, then Picard wakes up and his claw hand starts to spin out of control and try and get him out of his restraints because now they know. They're on to him. Tensions heighten.
And this is another reminder that Data is super strong and once
Yes!
got caught in a finger trap.
You'll never let him live that down.
No, never.
Deus Ex Data super strength. I mean,
Data
come on.
ex machina.
Yeah, Data Ex Machina super strength because well, Picard's base is still a puny human. I mean, Borg
Right.
strength is not in their individual strength for sure. So, what was he even trying? Picard knew that, but doesn't matter.
But
and
they
then-
added like a NutriBullet to this arm. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So intimidating.
A neutral.
I really like that they're like, hold on. I see increased neural activity as they're like in a physical combat.
I wonder why, Geordi.
But it actually turns out that Troy's got the right answer. The reason there's more neural activity is not because he's now moving and awake instead of sedated. It's because Picard is waking up inside but doesn't know how to show it.
She feels him. We
He's
utilize
trapped,
all the character's strengths in getting the captain back, and I think that was really great.
And Troy's is just, they're feeling something. Yeah,
That's
we got that
important.
line. It's not a real episode if Troy doesn't say that at some point.
Well, Crusher also provides a nice moment here when, let's see, so like Picard grabs or like reaches out, Data grabs him by the wrist or whatever, or by the NutriBullet, and then we notice at the same time that the Borg ship isn't heading towards Earth anymore, or it stops or something, and that's when Crusher like snaps her fingers, and it's like that's the same thing, is they're interconnected, but they're also interdependent. So maybe that's their weakness, right? And then we have our light bulb moment of like, oh, so could we manipulate that from this end as opposed to vice
Get
versa?
in there.
Get in there. Sorry, that's the wording.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is new plan number 1.
Yeah.
But they try, Data tries, and this is Riker's plan, great plan, which is just say, like, you know, don't put down your weapon systems, turn down your defenses, and doesn't work. They've got more encryption there. Shelby
This
says,
has that had the
Shelby
same energy as someone in D&D telling like the wizard, okay, in the message just tell them put all their weapons down and surrender, and the wizard being like, that's first of all, that's not how message works.
So true. I get one word, guys.
Yeah.
wait, you get one word with message?
No, but
No,
command.
like
you get
command,
one word.
yeah.
Oh, command. Yes, thank you. Well, he said keep it simple, you know, disarm your defenses. Oh, you're right. And there was that great moment from Crusher where it's like, oh, yeah, you said this. Anyway, Shelby says power them down.
Yeah.
That move doesn't work. And then Picard's really sleepy. I don't know why.
Yeah. I thought this was a great moment of, because he does the thing of like sleep, Data, sleep, or whatever, and Crusher, the human, is like, oh, he must be so tired, so fatigued, and then Data, the android, is like, there's something else there, and I was like, what a good thing for the non-human to catch the other meaning, because he doesn't have to deal with sleep or
He was so
whatever.
patient about it too. Like he
Yeah.
was so polite. He's like, if I may offer a supposition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but that was some stupid patience right there, because
Yes.
the new plan had been enacted, which is, hey, Wesley, you know what? I guess we can't break in, hack the mainframe, so just
go
crash
ahead.
right into the ship. Sir? Yeah, no, crash. Hey, let's get warp speed ready, because if we're going to crash into them, let's do it at warp speed, right? Okay, new plan. Riker's captain, go.
Yeah, you hear that, kid? You ready to die today? You're going to be the one to hit the button.
Yeah.
I totally agree, Becca. They should have been rushing. I was thinking that too. It's like, Data, talk faster.
Yeah.
We are about to crash into the ship. Yeah, when he made poor
That the trigger man for this move. Holy moly, guacamole!
and poor Crusher's face when he's just like, me?
Yeah. And you just hope that communication wasn't open down to the med bay where Dr. Crusher heard that.
I mean, that's also like just traumatizing. Just thinking that when you survive it, it's almost like a mock execution. It's like a self execution. It's crazy,
Right.
Because he even says the words "and get Data to bridge." It's like whoa.
But you know what? That is what the Kobayashi Maru is. That test that all Academy kids have to go through of like the no-win situation. What do? Do you hit the
Yeah.
button?
I suppose.
What do you do?
Anyway,
He has to hit the button. He has to.
He has to hit the button, but he doesn't because we get a half an
Wait, but what do you do
Dude.
in a Kobayashi Maru?
Oh.
Sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
I don't believe in
does.
no-win scenarios. You just refuse to believe that it's actually happening, and then a torpedo destroys your ship.
Yeah. Or you cheat and reprogram the holodeck.
Yeah. I think that's
There
the
you go.
option.
Always works. All right. Well, they do end up putting all those
Sleepy.
Borgs to sweet, sweet Betty bye, because you know what?
Regeneration.
Powering down, big move, requires multiple Borg approval or something. But a little move is it's time for nap time. And it's time for nap time is something they can get across to the whole system. So there you go. Let's get an away team over there to snoop and watch some sleepy Borg.
This is another one where I just yelled into my notes, and I'm like, you don't know how long they're asleep for. Get out of there. Blow them up. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Let's send an away team.
Yeah.
No!
We're out here to explore, though.
That's true. They did make a fair point where I believe it was Data made the point of like there would be an advantage to searching their ship and like
Right.
figuring out what's going on their side of things. But you're right. There's like who knows how long this command lasts for? Is sleep a 2-minute cycle? Is it a
Right.
2-day
I think it's from the trauma of watching Voyager. You just get the Borg.
Yeah, but along with the advice to stay and search the ship, they also say, well, we don't know if we blow up their whole ship if it's going to hurt Picard, who we
That's
know
fair.
is kind of still in there.
Yeah.
And then they are like, yeah, no, we're not going to wait. Just explode it all. Just
Yeah,
explode
yeah,
it
yeah.
all. We'll try and figure it out after that. Hope we don't blow your brain up into bits, Picard. But they didn't, so that was nice.
They didn't.
Yeah. And Picard's back, and we get
No more
Patrick Stewart for
Mankini,
a second.
though.
that's
oh,
true.
yeah, Mankini. Oh, well, you get a big moment of when
yeah.
he steps out of his standy up bed.
It's one of
and
the
he-
regeneration tubes.
This is when you get the full Tarzan Borg look, though.
It's the
and we see-
one-legged thing.
I love that this is constituting a big moment in this episode for you too. This is great.
Of course.
Yeah.
Formative.
I mean,
I
my
mean,
eyes
the
went
most
there
naked
as well. I was
episode.
looking. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that leg line. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Interesting that the Borg make that a priority to maintain modesty.
Sure,
I think
sure.
I think they left that on him because they took off all his other stuff.
Well, I think,
think
the
they-
FCC left it on them.
Yes, that's true. Fair point. Fair point.
Interesting.
Patrick Stewart was down for a full nudie, but the world wasn't ready.
I just thought of his character in Extras.
Yep, that's
where
all
he
I could
plays
think of.
himself, but like
I've
he's
seen
a super
everything.
pervert.
Yeah.
and then how about you take everything off of me? Everything. No? All right. Well, I'm available. I've
Yeah.
been waxing. Anyway,
Well, we get some of that amazing performance with when we notice that, man, it's so great to have him back because
Yes.
even the scene we have him in where he compliments Picard or where he compliments Riker while he's still in Locutus makeup,
Yeah.
still felt pretty real. We return at the final part of this back in the ready room, and Picard has bandages on his face, and they're figuring out how to rebuild the fleet. He
Yes.
says goodbye to Shelby, who's going to be head of the task force or whatever, or Starfleet Command. I guess.
rebuild everything that was blown up.
Right. And we're technically back to normal, but man, we know things aren't back to normal. 'cause
Okay.
that's- yeah.
The number one thing that's not back to normal, Shelby's now infected with some sort of brain virus because she's a total 180 into this docile little lady that's subservient to Riker and just gives him nice compliments. Doesn't make any sense. So
There
that's
were
next
like
episode.
great little moments of her referring to Riker as the captain and giving the glances as if like they had gone through a traumatic experience together. But no, I do see what you're saying.
Yeah, they did. That scene needed to be buttoned up pretty quickly, so they wanted to be like, all right, no more animosity. Let's get out, I guess.
Okay, but you lose the fun snark of like, I still think I'd make a great captain here.
yeah.
Also, there was a moment that we glossed over because we were looking at the Mankini too much, which is Picard remembers absolutely everything he went through.
Yeah.
He feels almost human, but in his glossy gaze out into space, there's something a little too still about him.
And this turns into like a defining character moment of Picard from here on out. Something that's referenced for the rest of the series and beyond.
At one time, I was a Borg.
Yep.
Well, you know, when I was a Borg, we know.
I know. As a
Jeez,
person
Jean-Luc.
who studied abroad in school, it's like the person who came back from studying abroad.
I know, you know Japanese,
Yeah.
Xander.
I
Still
know.
repeating those 4 phrases all the time.
Arigato gozaimasu.
どういたしまして。
I learned that one
Well,
from you.
That was the season premiere of season 4.
Hey, pretty good.
Hey, pretty good.
Ooh.
Wow.
I'd say we're
I'm-
solidly into Star Trek The Next Generation right now. When people look
Yeah.
fondly back on, I think we're right in the thick of the good stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been. Yeah, I'm very excited about this season. I don't remember which episodes are in this season. I'm kind of watching as we go, obviously. But I remember this is the middle. This is the chunk where it gets really great, and I'm excited to see a lot of the explorations we go on.
And to the people who jumped in just with this episode, as we know there are many, I've
This is a
never
podcast.
seen
This is a
the
podcast.
whole series from start to finish before. Only random episodes, so I know nothing.
You know a lot of things now. You're calling out technobabble corrections. You know a lot of things.
1-to-1, baby.
Yeah.
We are gonna head into next week with the second episode of the 4th season, Family. Oh, I just read this description and I remember this episode. Holy cow, this is a heavy one. While the Enterprise is undergoing repairs at Earth, Captain Picard visits his brother's family in France.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest of the crew
Sacre
visits family as well. There's a lot of family reunions in this next episode, hence the name, Family.
I just want Data to get back with his daughter, but that's not gonna work.
No.
Yeah, she's self-destructed.
Well, that's
anyway,
what your fan fiction's for.
Yeah, I
you're
can
welcome.
check that
yeah.
box
Oh,
off.
you've been reading?
I read the blog
Cool.
spot.
Find me on Tumblr. I guess we should head on to next week.
Let's do it.
Engage.
I said it too early.
Guess what? Through the magic of podcast editing, I'll make it at the same time.